So I'm with Dave Patterson here.
Hello.
And obviously you're running for association president. Your manifesto is very comprehensive and it lists a lot of things that you all the way down to class reps. But do you just want to list the top 3 things that you think would help you most being association president?
Well, I've sat on the Student Association Executive Committee, which is the highest body of student representation in the union, and it manages disputes between the SSC and the SRC, so the two student councils. Then I sat as a community councillor on the local community council, so being a strong voice for student issues there, like things like HMO and waste management and things like that, that really directly affect students' actual practical life here. And then SSC Performing Arts Officer, which meant that I was responsible for organising 40 events, including socials, plays obviously, Christmas ball, so actually hands-on experience working through the redevelopment.
So moving on to your manifesto, the first main point you make is on accommodation. Do you just want to outline some of your main policies on that?
Basically what we want to do is we want to actually try and equip students with the tools and the skills necessary for actually tackling letting agents head on and give them support to do that. So that's basically reinforcing and building on the existing workshops and halls of residence to give students, for example, things like pro forma letters, also techniques with dealing with letting agents, how to word emails, that sort of thing, so that we can actually encourage collective action to generally from the ground up improve the housing stock. I want to work closer with the Centre for Housing Research, which is obviously an excellent body in the university, and actually produce some data-driven approach. And to define data-driven, I mean taking the recent accommodation survey and looking at the results there, and then seeing where we can ask more detailed questions to actually get some more, to get better information out of that, and then thereafter sort of shape policy accordingly, so we can make informed decisions about housing, or at least equip students to make informed decisions for themselves.
So Chloe Hill at the AGM said that she's started setting up the letting agency, but that it will be the job of the next president to really put the finishing touches to that. I saw in your interview with my colleague the other day, you said that just in general, a new approach would be needed for accommodation. Would you finish off the letting agency with what's required, or do you think that something else is needed?
I think the letting agency, as Chloe says, is definitely not a one-year job. So obviously, if I was to be elected, I'd look exactly where Chloe's at, and obviously speak to Chloe and work and see what actually can be done, and obviously discuss with the university what they think that the best approach is. But definitely things that can be taken immediately in terms of helping next year's freshers, for example, is new and improved, workshops to give them equipment with these skills that I mentioned before. So that's actually direct things we can do to make concrete improvements. Obviously, if a letting agent is a feasible option, then that's something we can explore. But that's yet to be decided.
Okay, and then the next point on your manifesto is all about accessibility. Do you want to outline, in your view, the main problems St Andrews faces with widening access, and then how you're going to solve those?
Accessibility doesn't just cover widening access, it also covers the student experience and kind of how to access the student community here in St Andrews, because there can be various barriers to that in terms of social activities and sports to make up a huge part of St Andrews extracurricular stuff, and it's a massive part of what makes our student satisfaction ratings the highest in the country. So in terms of widening access, to answer the first point, the thing that I think is most important is trying to target students from deprived areas, students particularly from the west coast of Scotland, where the numbers that actually apply are offered places, but then those students in these areas aren't actually encouraged to apply to St Andrews. So things like the Beyond 5 programme, which is currently working just to get them generally excited about further education generally, it should be turned more to actual recruitment and say, look, come to St Andrews, because St Andrews actually got so much it can offer you, and it has a variety of activities, and the way you can actually do that is by getting them to come to open days first of all, but making sure the student associations, activities and the sports and a lot of things are actually showcased and tied up with the Wednesday open days so they can see what we're doing. The second point about actually having students here access that is that what we're seeing now is classes creeping up slowly, although some of them are optional classes. Like, classes really aren't optional, you should be trying to go to all your classes if you can. So on Wednesday afternoons, when you're supposed to be playing sport, or when music scholars are supposed to be playing music, or when students are supposed to be at debate training, things like that, actually they're supposed to be at class. And from 1 o'clock onwards, afternoons should be completely free for sporting activities. You're never going to get the mornings free, because obviously it's a busy timetable with scientists and things like that, obviously in labs. But students who are going for away games need that time to get up there and to play sport for St Andrews and to do the activities that obviously make them so happy.
So your next part of your manifesto goes on about the redevelopment. Obviously, you're probably going to be the president, if you became president, who would be most affected by the redevelopment. How are you going to deal with that? And presumably you need to work with the Director of Events and Services as well.
Of course, yeah.
But particularly with the loss of venue 1 in semester 2.
Well, also, obviously in the first instance as well, we're going to lose the top corridor because obviously it's going to be turning all of that into renewed society space, and obviously in time that will become actually, there'll be more space there. There'll be, I think, 40% more space than there was before for societies and things like that. But obviously we won't have it, and then obviously venue 1 goes in semester 2. The best way to do it is to approach the university and to try and obviously say, look, you have extra space in the form of classrooms, places like the Undercroft in medieval, underneath the medieval history building, and these rooms that are left unused, but obviously it costs money to have estates open them and keep them open out of hours. So it's trying to work out some sort of financial deal, either a half price discount or perhaps even trying to lobby them for funding completely to get those spaces opened up to make sure that, you know, we're actually getting the chance to allow our societies to run smoothly. And there's no reason why the university wouldn't work with us to do that, because I'm sure they appreciate, much as we do, the importance of extracurricular activities and of course the students' union activities that we have.
The other part of your manifesto on redevelopment talks about the communication of the actual project.
Yeah.
Do you think that's not been good enough so far?
I don't think it's not that it's not been good enough. It's like these things can always be improved. The more visibility you have, the more transparency, the more students are aware of exactly what's going on, the more they can plan around it, the more societies can actually attune themselves to upcoming developments, and obviously that support can happen within, but obviously the societies are trying to attract membership, trying to attract participation, and it's those people who might not necessarily be on committees, might not necessarily be in the meetings with the DOSDA and the DOEs, who get the information directly. It's those people that need to be informed, the wider student body, and we can always improve visibility. There's no reason why we can't work on that.
So it really struck me, and I think it would be fair to say that whilst you've got really solid policies, they're not as radical as in previous presidents who had quite radical policies. Is that mostly because you think you're going to be spending a lot of time dealing with the redevelopment, or is that what's the reason behind that? The
reason behind that is quite simple, and that's if you look at the time scale that a president has, you don't want to promise the electorate and the students the things that they can't actually get. What you want to see is, like, here are practical, deliverable policies where you can actually see concrete gains for your own experience and for students who are going to come to St Andrews as well. And it's small things we can actually working towards actual bigger results. So things like equipping students to actually deal with their letting agents head on is going to be sending a message around to all the letting agents, right, look, we're not going to stand for any nonsense anymore. It's time to actually give us a better deal. Like, some of the housing stock out there is an absolute disgrace. And so it's actually equipping students to have the courage and the confidence to keep on working for a better deal is going to make a massive difference. So although they're not radical policies on paper, they're actually going to make a radical difference in terms of what quality of housing students have, and that also goes for the other two policies. Well, the redevelopment obviously is much more practical.
Yeah.
But
so what are your thoughts on Chloe Hill, if you were to become president, your predecessor? Do you think she's done a good job?
I think Chloe's done a good job, yeah. I think there's a lot of things that she herself will rightly point out, that like the redevelopment took up a large part of her time, and obviously becoming general manager as well as association president isn't an easy task for anyone to take on. But Chloe's been exemplary, and her work, her and Teddy's work on international students' fees has been commendable.
And then obviously there's been a lot made about you and Pat living together. Whichever one wins, is the other one going to buy them a pint, or is it going to be the one that wins? Do you know?
I drink gin and tonic, so I'm sure with that.
Oh.
But no, I mean, I said in another interview, like, these things, you know, St Andrews is a place that can elect a lot of passionate people, and it's a place that you can fall in love with very easily, and we both have, and it's a wonderful place to go to study, and it's a wonderful place to try and encourage other people to study, and you have to respect the other person's A, passion, and B, right to run. So,
David Patterson, thank you very much.
Thank you.